So welcome back to this week's episode of Behind the Build. And today, Peter and I will be talking about accessibility in Singapore. But before that, we would like to thank today's sponsor, Plug Bear Home Services. Plug Bear Home Services is one of the biggest handyman firms in Singapore, taking care of your home maintenance needs. And that includes your plumbing, your electrical, and other repairs. So right now, for the elderly, they are having a fantastic promotion. So it's $350, gets you $700 worth of credits used to offset any and all maintenance services in your home. And once you sign up with them, they will give you a complimentary viewing of your home, and they will look for all the hazards. For example, appliances that have lost their rubber linings on their wires, or things that can cause trips, falls, or even gas accidents. So if you want to know more, you can head down to their website, www.plugbear.com. All right, now back to us, Pete.
Let's go.
So Singapore is one of the safest countries in the world to be in need. Number one, if you're homeless, the government will give you a house, right? And if you are in need of assistance, people are everywhere and readily available. And if you are visually impaired or you have mobility issues, you realize almost everything is designed to take care of us. We live in such a magnificent society. I think you have an example about housing, right?
Okay, an article by CNA written on 18 August 2025 that by 2026, 21% of Singapore's population will likely be aged 65 and above. That is a significant amount of elderly by 2026.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel 65 already.
Your back,
Yeah, my back, my
your
neck,
legs, your knee.
my hair is turning white as well.
Yeah, so during PM Lawrence Wong's National Day rally speech, one of the key initiatives targeting towards elderly is the Age Well neighborhood,
Right.
which it will kick off in areas like Toa Payoh, and a few other places that are more elderly prone areas with daily activities for wellness and social activities.
Right.
And then there's the other one that has been going on since 2023, which is an initiative by HDB to launch this thing called a community care apartment, which is specifically for elderly or even people who are having disability or after hospitalization care. So they can move into all these apartments, right, or even some BTOs where all these accessibility equipments are all catered within the house itself.
That's a beautiful thing to have, right? We know the government is taking care of us. And I think one of the biggest problems when we live with elderly or people in need, we all know that deep down they feel very disabled. They feel like a burden that someone has to take care of them all the time. So generally, when we start to design these things for people in need, we want to create an environment where they are enabled themselves or make their daily lives much easier, right? We talk about transferring, eating, mobility, the 6 things, right? So it's for them to be able to be slightly more independent, right? So what are things in a home do you think we can have to make them more independent?
I think to add on to the government initiative, right, according to what you say, how can we improve or make them more independent on their own lifestyle, right?
That's right.
Is first of all, say the most essential items like your kitchen cabinet, your toilet, your access from your corridor into your house itself. How all this with ramps or even the height catering for wheelchair users, everything are all accounted for. The thing that wheelchair people struggle a lot, or people with disability struggle, right, is they are already how to put it, normal things, right, like reaching for the top of the cabinet, all this, right, it's already going to be a struggle for them. So how can we accommodate all these things just to match to their needs, right? Or even to their height, and having all the support bars, everything. It may not be the most prettiest, but in terms of functionality and how they can be independent on their own, I think all these are all key essentials.
It brought me back to one of the clients I did. And she suffered from a stroke. So half body, I believe, is the right side. She can't feel anything. So she walks with a limp, and the lips is probably a bit skewed off as well. And when we did up her house, she asked, "Hey, how come my cabinet doors keep slamming?" And we told her, "Ma'am, we know you're having difficulty with strength. Maybe you have some mobility that you managed to get back, but you don't really have the strength to pull a soft closing hinge. Therefore, everything is just running on traditional runners." Then she looked at me. Boy, thank you for thinking of me. But I could still see she was still frustrated. Like, I thought I had the best. I'm sure what we gave her was the best. Do you have any experience like that?
I do have one that one condominium that I did before is a Sengkang Grand. So when the client bought the house and they wanted to move in, the father had a stroke before. So in terms of walking normally, right, was already going to be a struggle. And then with the different generation, with the grandparents, with the parents itself, and then after him, how can we design the house in a way where it's specifically catered for the support of the father,
Right.
but yet at the same time, still keeping the element of aesthetic into the house. So along the corridor, all the way from the entrance to the master bedroom, specifically in the master bedroom, the whole entire corridor is covered in this half height cladded panel with LED. Reason for it is if he's not going to use the walking stick, he can just hold on to the half clad, and then he just guide his way into the master bedroom. And then at night itself, we didn't want to do with sensor, so we did with light switches leading from the entrance, the kitchen, then after that to the master bedroom. So while he's walking, he can on. Once he on already, right, at night if there's no light at all, the only thing that is lit are the hand support.
Right.
So by doing that, right, at least for the younger generation, right, the whole house still looks aesthetically pleasing. Then after that, for the father itself, it's practical reason. So that's one key thing that I wanted to address or to ask you also is in the future, let's say what I mentioned, 21% of Singapore's population will likely be age 65. And the chances of multi-generation living, right, like living with our parents, living with our grandparents, are going to be higher. So how can we balance what is practical for them and what is aesthetic for the younger generation? How do we blend these two together, right, to find a good balance between both?
I think as designers and builders ourselves, we can stop looking at Pinterest, right? There is no more of what looks cool, what looks cute, what looks minimalist or Japandi or Scandinavian. In fact, I think what we can do is we can look closer into designing details that is more friendly for homes like this, like what you mentioned, having a wall panel cladding, also doubling up as a handrail. That means it has to be sturdy enough, and it has to be rounded edges, right? You can't have sharp edges where, if you're gliding through and you fall down, right, then you get lacerations on your fingers. So I think we can think of details that way. Like if we don't have space, how slim can we make the panel and how strong can we make it be? Do we need to add more steel supports into the carpentry itself? Or what? We have to figure it out. And then even like, for example, if someone is visually impaired. So what can we do also to make this place more livable for them? I mean, I'm not talking about people who are totally blind, but maybe still can see a bit of shadows. I think we can use brightness as well to zone out and differentiate the spaces in the place, right? So they don't have to be on super high alert. And you can tell, right? It's very stressful, right? Like, oh, where am I? Very disorientating, right? Like, where am I? Where am I? It's always a stress. So if we can reduce or totally remove that high level of stress for this individual, I think we have succeeded in our ways as well.
I believe that every single house, yeah, whether it's for visually impaired or for wheelchair accessible users, yeah, every house should be catered uniquely.
Right.
Like it shouldn't we designers, right, shouldn't design it in a way where, oh, we copy paste from other projects, or okay, you want Scandinavia, okay, I copy it and then paste, because unfortunately, because nowadays BTOs, right, their layout are more or less the same. So the chances of people replicating the same design, right, would be quite high. But for me, I always believe that every single house should be unique on its own, especially with this kind of, say, blind person or people with stroke, all this, right. I think most importantly for us as designers, right, is to put ourselves in their shoes, or try to put it in their shoes, right, and be sensitive about the way their new life or their life will be. If let's say you are a blind person, I would assume that when you are, first of all, when you're touching things, right, yeah, different texture, different softness, hardness, or even the edges. All these are all very significant details, right, that would either affect the emotions of the user, and like we say, right, and to not let them panic.
That's right.
And most importantly is to orientate wherever they are and to guide to wherever they want to go, whether it's a master bedroom or living room, etc. So speaking of which, like I mentioned about texture, all this, right? Previously in other podcasts, right, I mentioned about one case study in India. It's the School for the Blind and Visually Impaired Children, which is in Gandhinagar, India, designed by architecture firm C-Lab. So previously I mentioned, right, that the whole entire layout of the place, right, is not symmetrical at all. So we are talking about architecture wise, right? It's not symmetrical. So wherever that they walk, different parts of the interior of the building or exterior itself, by touching through the walls, right, with different curve, or okay, if here straight, here low, here high, all this, they will already be able to orientate themselves on where they are. Then interior wise, right, for different corridors, the wall texture, right, some you have the horizontal, some you have the vertical. So same thing, by running through their hands on a texture itself, they will also be able to orientate themselves. Then you also have the other things of other senses like your smell, and your sound, your hearing, different ceiling height, different plant smell. All this, right, all will be able to guide them to their classroom or even their bedroom within the building.
Right. Yeah, that's why I feel smart home is not just designed for luxury. You can do it for visually impaired households as well. For example, if you fall down, you can't get up. Alexa, call my son. Right? Then your son knows that you need some help. Or if you suddenly lost your orientation in the house, someone moved the furniture but didn't tell you, and then you walk to that space, and you feel, oh, something's different, and the panic kicks in, right? And then if you can say, for example, Alexa, where am I now? You are standing in front of the dining table in the living room, or something like that. And I feel that would reassure. Right. So instead of walking to a TV remote, to a aircon remote, or even closing the curtains, now you can just put everything on a smart home.
Are we already able to do that? Like Alexa, where am I?
You just need sensors in the house, I suppose. But you understand that smart home was designed for that. I think if you're just talking about luxury, right, and just setting your aircon at what temperature before you reach home, I think those are extra things.
Those are luxury lah, but I think it's a very good point on how because we cannot escape from the growth in technology, especially with AI and all your smart technology and stuff. And back to the same topic, yeah, is the percentage of elderly will grow.
Yes.
So how can we incorporate these two things, yeah, and make the whole design with smart technology become more for the social well-being or for the well-being of the user? Yeah, I think that is something that we can really look into.
Yeah, some of the people these days, they think that smart home is for luxury, so they think naturally it's expensive. But I'm sure technology, we can find someone else who can offer it cheaper. I mean, you don't need the best audio definition. You just need a smart sensor and at least a microphone that understands whatever you're saying. And not if you have some weird accent, right? Like, yeah, turn on the light, then, we must be able to train our language models to be able to pick up accents like that and make it affordable. So it becomes a standard if we are looking to build or design a house for people in need. We should have this standard ourselves and you start to think. And the more we do this, the more accepted it will be. Then it becomes the new industry standard. And that's why design school, because we're in an aging population and we know it's just going to get worse or more, I think that should be a module taken seriously.
I think apart from this topic on accessibility, which is something that is more tangible, right? Yeah. There's always the other side, which is the more intangible aspect, which is like, say, dementia, more mental health issues, right? Yeah. All this can also be incorporated into design, not just something that is more tangible or even elderly specific, even though, yeah, this is the topic that we're talking about. But design covers a lot of other social contexts as well.
So if I was living with dementia, it means sometimes I forget where I put things or even forget people, forget what time of the day or where am I. How do you think design can help me? Would the smart home suffice as well?
That is something that we can consider.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think apart from technology wise, right, as designers, right, so to answer your question, maybe in terms of technology, yes, maybe one day Alexa or other technology AI can be able to rectify that issue for you. But us as designers, apart from technology, how can we design a space, right, to cater for someone with dementia, like say losing things? Does it mean that I have to specifically cater the key important items at the main entrance, or is it or do I have to put it at a cabinet or a shelving, right? That is along the corridor or the pathway, right? That he or she walks every day.
Yeah, but that's what we're dealing with, the severity of the dementia. Like, if we even forget where we put our shoes, which is naturally at the shoe cabinet, but we go there, we can't find that pair of shoes and we find it in the freezer instead. So I feel maybe the physical environment, changing it or helping them create mental notes on these spaces might be a challenge. So unless you teach them a song, red is for shoes, blue is for groceries, green is for electronics. I mean, if it's catchy enough, or you can put out the lyrics on the wall, perhaps that will help. Because when I feel that there's a connection between the mental and the physical, I think that is a even tougher thing to deal with. Physical disabilities we can still overcome with our other senses, but for mental to physical, let's hope we can develop technology well enough to help us.
Yeah, but I think like I mentioned, one idea, right, yeah, is if they are always going to circulate between the living room or the kitchen to the master bedroom, right?
Yeah.
means that corridor becomes something that is very important, the key feature, because that's where they go back and forth. So how can we design something that they would generally forget where they put, right? Yeah, within that corridor, right? To subconsciously trigger the their memory about something that could potentially help in terms of how the livelihood of the family on his or the client on his own. Actually, there's one dementia project that I wanted to talk about was that this client, his father had her father had dementia. So we wanted to design the kitchen or the living room in a way, right, where first of all it has tea essence, whether is it for smell or for touch or even sight on its own. So that circulation between the living room and the kitchen became a very important portion for him to trigger the memory. His dementia is not severe, but it's at a relatively early stage if I'm not wrong. So we wanted to play a lot with tea smell because the father really loved tea drinking.
Right.
So he's a kind of when we sat down together, the moment we talk about tea to him, right, he just woke up. Like he became like very, very clear, like, oh, okay, last time daughter like to drink blah, 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 all this kind of thing.
Right.
So it's because of all this, right, that made me realize that sometimes, right, they just need a trigger point.
Right.
Like you mentioned. Whether is it memory, a significant person, or even in this case, right, tea. How can we incorporate tea, even the table, as to in the past, right, how they drink their tea during their tea drinking sessions, right? All these, right, or how can we incorporate it within the kitchen and the living room? Then, in terms of touch wise, right, how can we redesign the kitchen to be more to be also a trigger for them to remember all their past memory? There's this another house that I used to do renovation for them. This one is another story. So my clients, the father also had dementia. But what I found very interesting, right? His dementia is quite severe. They won't remember whether they ate medicine or not. Yeah. Then after that, any stranger or what, right? Yeah, they'll be like, "Who are you? What are you doing at my house?" Because I have to keep going when their house for renovation.
Right.
But because this client's daughter, right, is my friend, so I jokingly said to the father, I say, "Oh, 打包朋友."
Right. Boyfriend.
Yeah. So I jokingly said that.
Right.
And turns out, right, every single time when I went over, right, the grandfather, I mean my friend's grandfather, right, just looked at me and said, "Hey, 叫我 uncle，叫我
Yeah, yeah.
叫我爷爷." I just like, "Uncle, 你记得啊?"
Right.
He remember every single time, right, since then, right, I went back, right, he just here 叫我. Yeah, so that was when I realized it may not need to be like in the previous case, like T.
Right.
It can just be a significant person, right, which is his granddaughter, right? And that would trigger a memory and him remembering who I am.
So this is one of the typical case of designers are more than just people who come up with 3D drawings. We get to know you personally. And in this case, you have successfully found focus and trigger points for these individuals suffering with dementia.
I mean, also depending on the severity,
Right.
like you mentioned.
Yeah. So I can imagine right now he's thinking, where is your boyfriend? Right? And
I don't know.
yeah, then maybe his memory will jolt if you see him again. Maybe it'll improve. But I think you haven't gotten any calls yet, right? So
No.
yeah, we're fine. Yeah. So if we are also talking about, say, mobility impaired people, have you heard of the exoskeleton?
No.
Yes. So you strap this thing to your waist and behind your legs, right? So that gives you the strength to stand up.
Mm.
Then you can start to simulate mobility again. So I'm very optimistic that there are a lot of things we can do, whether is it with hard furnishing help or with equipment help. I believe both can play a big part. And especially homes that don't have space to build lifts, they will need the chairlift that goes up the staircase. So there are clients, there's this client I know in a private house who is facing the exact same problem. They want to renovate everything by doing all the aesthetic stuff. And then you want to install the chairlift. And we realize that it takes up so much space. I don't think in the future they'll be carrying any IKEA furniture up. I don't see it possible. And so with the advice, we have to remove the railing, find something that is thinner and more durable. So there's a lot of challenges there. And not only in the home, how about moving out of the home? Because we can't just confine an individual to just a small living quarters. We have to be able to enable them to maybe go for a coffee, go for lunch, make them self-sufficient. So let's dive into it for individual impairments, right? So for visually impaired people, we have Braille and we have the guide rails on the floor in all public spaces. So when we talk about accessibility, it's not just at home. We're talking about moving out. We need to go out and get things done and not just being confined to the home, right? So actually for visually impaired people, we have Braille, the markings on the buttons. All the lift buttons have it now, right? I suppose. And they also have that, what's the little thing on? Those grids on the floor where it guides us from area to area. And on top of that, we also have sheltered walkways. So there's a lot of things we are very thankful for in Singapore. And if you realize, every traffic light junction, there's also those start markings on the floor. So those are all meant to help us. Yeah, so like I mentioned, there was one rainy day I was cycling and I ended up on these markings downslope from the MRT station. And then I slipped and fell. And I'm still in pain, man. This has been a month already. And I also can imagine COVID should be quite a nightmare for visually impaired people, right?
Why?
Right? Because they say don't touch the lift buttons, then they have like the sensors that give you that would pick the button that you want to press, or you use the ice cream stick to press the button. Can you imagine like you have no way of doing that? Then if you're in the lift alone, that's not really helpful. So I wonder how it was like for visually impaired people during COVID.
I mean, they sanitize it quite often lah. There is one. There's something that we cannot avoid for visually impaired, where they have to feel the bills. But at least for the initiative, for the management, right, is they go and clean it up lah. Like
Right.
I think every day, I think they have to sanitize it.
I think eventually they built in the antimicrobial coating, right? Don't use your keys anymore. Yeah, I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand because some condominiums or some shopping centers, right? One set of the leaf buttons, right? They have the sensors for the buttons.
Yes.
I don't like it. As in, I understand the need for it because COVID at time you try not to touch the button, so there is the sensor. But it can get a bit annoying for me, that sometimes when you want to press, for example, the upper portion of the floors, you just brush your hand over, it will detect everything along the way, depending on how sensitive it is lah. Then end up you just over there like I cannot manually go and override it. So it can get a bit annoying for me, especially when I use. So usually I try to use the one that is manually pressed.
Okay, there's this other time I went to North Point. So you would think North Point City is such a big shopping mall, and it was not even during peak hour. So I went to the washroom and I looked at the handicap ones, and I'm like, oh, okay, fine, it's vacant, there's nobody. Just pop in, right? But I felt guilty lah. I mean, I don't know why we were made to feel guilty because they put up a sign there, please do not use this, it's only reserved for wheelchair users. So I did my number 2 there. Oh, whatever, wash my hands, da 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 da. And when I press the door open button, I can see a couple folding their arms staring at me with, I think it's a parent, one of their parent in a wheelchair. So, and I said sorry and I just walked away. I have never felt so guilty in my life. It's like I'm depriving someone of toilet use. But then again, I did my due diligence, right? We make sure no one's queuing up and all that. But yeah, you get a lot of stares from people and I'm sure they were cursing at me. Yeah, so that has happened. In fact, our public transportation as well, do we have that auto thing, chair, what do you call it? The wheelchair lift.
Auto?
Is it auto? Yeah, they have the auto ones.
Oh, the newer buses lah.
I know some of them they manually pull the thing out, but
Yeah.
it becomes a ramp. But I remember there was an auto. Yeah, so I was in this double-decker bus one day. And double-decker bus, after you tap in your EZ-Link card, there's a priority seating on the right. So it was empty, right? So I took the last seat closest to the second door. I think 3-4 stops down. It was a Boon King area, I believe. This quite rather large lady got on the bus and she was limping to the seat. So she sat at the first priority seat. Okay. At that point of time, I think I was rushing for an appointment. So I had to get some documents done. So I was using my phone, right? And then you can hear this voice from the left. Do you know this is a priority seat? Like, you talking to me? And I was like, yeah, I know. Do you know it's for people who need it? Yeah, I know, the bus is quite empty. So, you will give out a seat if someone needs it? Yeah, of course I will. And then, moving down 2-3 bus stops, she was just grumbling under her breath. Then she started saying, you are not disabled, you will never know. One day it will happen to you. Then you understand. You need to take care of people. Well, I mean, I got a shock, man. I look at her like, why are you making this such a big deal? But of course, I was very busy with my Adobe documents, right? So I stood up and I just walked to the standing area. Not being considerate at all. She was just grumbling and I don't know, she made me feel guilty for taking the priority seats, right? But then again, we have another group of people who hog the priority seats, just on their phone, and completely oblivious to people who need them. So I don't think I fell under that category, but I don't know, I felt the victim of accessibility, if we can call it that now.
I think for me, I feel it's okay to sit at a priority seat, even for MRT. You just have to be a bit more observant that if anybody, any elderly or someone who needs it more, comes towards your direction, you're like, okay, then you be the first one to give it up because you're sitting at the priority seat. But if the bus is completely empty, I think to me it's fine to sit lah. You just probably met a Karen.
Yeah, so the thing is, I already moved out of the way. I just hope that, she wouldn't feel so wronged.
Yeah.
I just kept going on and on. I mean, typically, I believe people would fight back. But honestly, I was just too busy.
Yeah.
I naturally, I wouldn't even, actually. I wouldn't even. But I just... put a $10 in the tip jar.
Oopsie.
But these experiences don't make me a worse person. I wouldn't have a vengeance against people who are crippled or limping.
Mm.
But I didn't really appreciate the fact that I was being cursed in a way, saying that one day it might happen to me and whatnot. I don't know. I just hope I won't become this kind of person, lah. Right? So have you had any accidents like that?
No, for me, I mean, in MRT trains, usually if the only seat is left, right, is the priority seat, right? I won't sit. But if it's for buses, right, I do still tend to sit at the priority seat. Just that I will be a bit more alert, lah. Like if anybody need, I'll just stand up. I'll just like, do you need to sit? Yeah. Then after that, chances are is most of the time they will sit, but it gets very awkward if both don't sit. Then it becomes like 你要坐吗？然后不要，我多2个站要下了。
Right.
Then it becomes like, do I go back and sit, or do I just let somebody else sit?
So who has the moral upper hand, is it?
So usually in this case, right, to prevent any awkwardness, right, once I stand up, I offer he or she whether want to sit or not, right, I just straight away move inside, or I just stand at the standing area. So whoever want to sit, sure, go ahead.
I think it's more of a courtesy lion kind of system. I mean, but if I'm being victimized, then I feel probably not in the people are not taking it in the right way. And I become a criminal. I won't be surprised if they're soon going to start finding people for doing that. If it becomes too much of a problem.
I think you're just suay lah. that you're really just a collateral damage that day she's just in a very bad mood. Lor.
Alright guys, so if you all have any stories like this on public transportation, please leave your story in the comments and we will read it out in the next episode. Right? So have you tried this dining place called Knox?
No.
Dine in the Dark.
No.
So Knox Dine in the Dark is this restaurant you got to book, right? It's on the ground floor. You have this reception area and a bar. Then you have a locker where you keep anything that has or could produce a light. So it includes your mobile phones and your watches. And then you go up this flight of stairs in this shop house in, I can't remember, is it Club Street? You enter an entirely dark room. You are being guided by one of the staff to your seat. So all the exit lights, all the air conditioning lights, and the windows, and the fridges, and the, I believe, dumbwaiter, they covered every single light source. So even if your eyes are wide open, it's so dark that there is no minimal amount of light that you can adjust to. So you don't even see anything. No shadows at all. So the second floor is being serviced by an entire crew of visually impaired staff. So it is so amazing because one of them will come down the stairs to pick you up and host you. So you have to follow him. So the moment you enter the room and it's dark, he said, put your hands on my shoulders and form a train. I'll bring you to your seat. So table 12 this way, table 6 this way. So I managed to sit down, and at the start it felt very uncomfortable. But we start to think, okay, if one day I do lose my sight, this is going to be very natural. It's going to be darkness everywhere. So it started to make me appreciate whatever senses that we still have, and if we are still healthy, to take care of what we have, right? Because some people is forcibly taken away from them, for sure. I believe most of them. And if they have a choice, they wouldn't want to. But here's the thing. It may have turned out quite okay for me, but I could hear the grumblings of this couple on a table adjacent to ours. Like, oh, I can't see anything. Very uncomfortable. And before they even served the first course, they told the server, I need to go. We can't stay. We're rushing off to somewhere. But you know, like that's the polite thing to tell the guys there, right? It's like, oh, we need to go somewhere. Oh, but we haven't served your meal. We haven't served your cocktails that you ordered. oh, we just realized we have something on, we need to go. So I believe it's not uncommon that there are guests who feel so uncomfortable they can't dine there, right? So they serve you your food in a tray of 4 square cuboid bowls. Yeah, and anyway, it's not, they have no sharp corners, bowls, and then they put their cuisine. So every three servings of 4 bowls each. So 4 different like micro dishes in everyone. So the staff there are so amazing. They can tell you, oh, your fork's here, your spoon is here, your water is to your left, the bottle is there, your cocktail is to your right. If you need any help, just call us. And you're just dining in the dark. And wait, the first bowl you should be eating is the one closest to you, and then you go clockwise. Yeah, then you're like, hey, what is this? Very interesting. Oh, this tastes like duck. Oh, this tastes like beef. You know? And then when the table close on the left of us already finished their course before us, I believe they were one seating before, so they left. And then you can hear the shuffling of feet. Shh, 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 shh. Then you know someone is walking there, right? Go, go, go. And then you can hear them taking out a spray bottle. Eh. Like you can tell that they're cleaning up, and it's not uncommon for them to drop cups or cutlery, but luckily they are not glass, so it's fine. And I think it's such an amazing thing. Like, but let's just say you lose your sight, and then you're unable to tell who are around you, and you need something, and if you can't hear another soul around, you wouldn't voice out as well. Then you'll be just like doing things silently. So if I wouldn't dare say that it's scary, but it just makes us appreciate what we still have.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it gives me hope that losing your sight is not the end of the world. And for this certain gentleman that hosted us, he was telling us a story, his story. He coaches on stage motivation. How losing his sight has given him a new meaning in his life. And he only found his girlfriend and got married after he got blind. He tells me of his travels from SEVH to his house, and he takes a bus. So it's so nice to know that it's not the end of the world, and we are being so taken care of. And he's worked there for more than 11 years, I believe. Yeah, so that was a very interesting experience. And if you're listening to this, I recommend you do take a trip down. Don't panic. You know, sometimes not being able to see, you can enjoy other senses. You can talk to your friends, your partner. Have the real conversation, right? Like we don't get to make monkey faces at each other. Yeah, sure. So what? Then we get to enjoy the genuine connection.
I think it's
Voice.
also going with open mind, open heart. That if you're going there, yeah, I think most importantly, just is for the experience of not being able to see anything while you're dining. But the other half is also, I think most importantly, is creating awareness and to allow yourself to be to know how it feels to be visually impaired or a blind person, right? And then from there is to have more sensitivity and understanding for people like them.
Yes. So after we're done with the meal, we go back down to the ground floor. Everyone is seated there. Everyone is settled down. Then they'll bring their iPads around. These are not the visually impaired staff. They bring the iPads around. They show you, can you all guess what's the first dish, second dish, third dish, fourth serving, whatever. Then they start to show on the iPad. Oh my god, the food looks amazing. You get like smoked duck with, I think, peach or whatever on the side. It's amazing. And the thing is, right, when you take the side away, somehow it is the experience as well. You know, it's the food experience includes how it looks like as well. But that, yeah, so I had problems trying to pin flavors to something I couldn't see. But based on the texture, of the meat, for example, or the flavor of the vegetable, we kind of know what is what. But it's not the same as being able to see it.
The portion is a small portion. Right?
Yeah, it's a bowl like this big per bowl, and then it's 4 bowls per tray.
I'm just thinking, because you cannot see anything, ma.
Right.
What if one of the meal, right, like say your main entree itself, right, is your smoked duck.
Yeah.
And then maybe say there are supposed to be 3 pieces of smoked duck.
Yeah.
But after you eat it, right, then how do you actually know that your plate is clean?
Oh, yeah, because like I told you, right, it's all in these bowls, right? So they make sure you scoop.
Oh, it's a bowl.
It's a bowl, yeah, it's a bowl. So you hold it like this with a spoon, then you scoop and eat. You just eat clean.
They got drop anything?
I would never know. I mean, unless we walk out of a restaurant when there's light and we look, but I don't think I did.
You see your salmon, your smoked duck all on the floor.
You would never know. But I believe, okay, I'm not sure if they do this, right? Maybe they turn the lights on and they clean after service. I'm not sure. But amazing concept.
And that's like I mentioned, is one way for people to put themselves in the shoes of visually impaired or anybody with disability, even elderly in this case, right? Yeah. Like I think the most layman one, right, is they have the menstrual cramp. Menstrual cramp, there's this
Simulator.
the simulator one.
Oh my god.
So it's also to create like for the husband to have an awareness on how painful menstrual cramps are. Yeah, so it's sort of similar idea to it, even though the severity of things are different.
I have never tried it, and yeah, I probably want to try now since you said it, right? It sounds interesting.
Yeah, I heard just I think like maybe one or two power up only, right? Yeah, the guys all cannot tahan.
Yes, I believe I wouldn't be able to as well. Okay, another recent thing that happened to me, like remember when I went to Sri Lanka, I fell down, I hit my head, and I can tell you I probably only had less than half my brain function. So it means I slept a lot, I felt dizzy all the time, I had vertigo, I had no appetite, and a lot of times when I'm awake, I just find myself staring into air. So in a way, I can understand how serious it is when someone hits their head or you don't have your full brain function. Comparing me then and me normally, you'll be so surprised. You'll be asking me, hey, what happened to you? Something happened to you. Yeah. So that kind of simulated a new experience for me, and it also makes me more wary about people and making sure that the environments they're in are safe. And this has spurred me on in a way to continue doing good work for this cause. Then again, it took me 5 days later, I recovered my function, and that's where I got everything back except my appetite, and I was like, okay, make sure to watch out, especially for elderly. So it resonates very well with our sponsor today and how they are looking out for our silver generation out there. So us as designers, we need to pick up the slack.
Yeah, I think to be able to do more deep projects, right, they are for social well-being, right, I think it gives a whole different purpose to renovation and interior design and even architecture on its own. So a lot of things is not just about the aesthetic, it's not just about like the lifestyle of the user, but more of trying to understand how individuals behave, what's the psychology behind it, what's the tangible support that they actually need for visually impaired or any disabilities, right? Yeah. And then from there, being sensitive and design for them, I think to me that gives a lot of purpose to, first of all, why I became a designer in the first place.
Right. So personally, have you worked with any like welfare homes that take care of people with disabilities?
Currently, no, but all this accessibility comes in a more subtle context rather than it being the main priority. Like I've done a few sustainability projects. They are in landscape field size, right? Yeah. Where if you have any event, like say for example those yearly event or where they have it in the middle of the field, all this right can become a problem for wheelchair users or even anybody with disability. So how can we design a temporary space to cater for people like them as well? Yeah, that was a secondary element to the main event lah. But the main event was a sustainability project.
My experience with the wheelchair coming back, I managed to go through customs, express lane, super VIP express. Scan fees, go through, and then they pick up your luggage for you, and then they leave you at the taxi stand. So I think it's also making people aware of the less privileged that we or people in society that we need to take care of. Right? A lot of people live their daily lives with a blind eye to these things. And it doesn't happen to me. Why should I even bother? But I think that's not right as a society. So if we can make accessibility the mainstream in Singapore and the priority, and aesthetics the secondary, I think both of us we can work on this right now. We can use our platforms to push this across. I hope you guys enjoyed our talk on accessibility today. If you have any ideas or you have any projects that you're working on, you can also share with us. I will also share with you our new rolling door that is meant to enable wheelchair users. Yeah. And with that being said, we hope to continue doing the good work and have your support. And if you like what we have done today, please subscribe, like, share our videos, like a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will see you again next week.
Bye bye.